My wife is my cure. I mentioned that in the previous video, but I want to reiterate here because it perfectly encapsulates everything that I'm going to talk about. And I just want to re-include a small explanation of what I mean by that. It doesn't mean that I put the responsibility of finding a cure or curing me on my wife, on her shoulders. That's not what I mean. What I mean is having her in my life, her presence, her love, her support, her encouragement, everything that she is. That is what is giving me the strength and also the belief in myself, in the universe, in order to cure myself. That is what I mean by she is my cure. I've told her this since, well, I don't know exactly when, but it was near the beginning of the diagnosis and everything. And to this day, I still believe it to the core of my being. So the reason why I'm sharing that is because a couple days ago, someone in the comments said like, hey, would you mind sharing the story of how you and your wife met? And because I love my wife, I'm like, I love the idea. So, I asked her permission because obviously this impacts her too. And I don't want to share because she's a much more private person than me. So I spoke to her and she's like, yep, not a problem. You can share their story. So here we go. But before we get to the point of how we met, I just kind of have to backtrack a bit and explain how I got to that point. So end of 2021, I sold everything I owned except whatever fit in a small backpack and hopped on a plane and started traveling the world. The reason why I did that was twofold. First of all, always wanted to travel, always found excuses not to do it. Second reason was I wanted to use this journey, this experience, whatever I would experience on that trip, to transform myself into the version of myself that my soulmate would deserve to be with. That way, by the time I met her, I would already be that person rather than being me and then having to evolve into the person she deserves to be with. So that was the intention that I set off with. So after that, first place I went to was Guatemala. Stayed there for 3 months. After that, I went to Colombia for 3 months, Costa Rica for 2 months, and then Nicaragua for 3 months. And that's where I ended up meeting my girlfriend. There's a crap ton of stuff that happened during those 10 months. But I don't want to go into it. I share everything on my channel. So if you want to go back far enough, you'll be able to find all that information. So the way that I met my girlfriend at the time was not very original in terms of meet cute. It was through Tinder. But it doesn't matter because the point is we met, we fell in love, and now we're married and life is amazing. So we met, started talking a bit, but she's like, I'm kind of going through some stuff at the moment. Like I'm not really up for dating. So, we can go on a date later on when things are better. Usually when it comes to dating, especially online dating, that means I will never hear from this person again. I will never meet this person. But in this case, I was wrong. Every, couple weeks, I'd just reach out and be like, hey, how you doing? Is everything okay? Blah, blah, blah. And about a month after we initially met, she's like, yeah, okay, things are kind of a little better right now. We can go on a date. So we planned a date and then we started talking and talking and talking. And I'm like, wow, I really like this person. We connected a lot and I really enjoyed talking to her. And I'm like to the point where I'm just like, she could be the one. And because of that, I'm a very extreme person. So I like to do all or nothing. So I'm like, hey, what do you think if we plan our next couple dates in advance? I think it would be romantic. And the worst that happens if our first date doesn't go well, we just cancel these dates. She's like, yeah, okay, cool, I like it. So we ended up planning the second date. And we also ended up discussing, not officially planning, but discussing the possibility of, hey, what if we go on a trip together? Because, since I was in Nicaragua, I didn't get a chance to go to the beach yet. So I'm like, let's take a couple days and go to the beach. Seems like a good way to get to know each other. Could be really fun. We can enjoy the beach. So she's like, yeah, okay, cool. So, all that was theoretical, of course, until we met for real, went on the date, and then we'd see what ended up happening. So the first date didn't start the best, simply because the restaurant where we were, the music was really loud. And at the time, my Spanish still really, really sucked. So I spent most of dinner either being like, excuse me, what? Or being like, yep. Then in my head, I'm like, I have no idea what you were saying. But it can't have been that bad because after that, we ended up going for a walk, going to the park, and the date was actually really enjoyable. To the point where After, I'm like, yeah, okay. After this one date, I just don't feel like going on other dates. I don't feel like seeing any other women, which is ironic because I already had two other dates planned with two other women, but I'm like, I don't want to go on those dates. So I ended up canceling those. And then we ended up going on the second date, which I did not know at the time, but my wife considered canceling simply because, not because she didn't like me, simply because, I was traveling, everything was so uncertain, there seemed to be no future, and she's like, I'm looking for something serious. So she almost canceled, but she didn't. So I guess that means I'm irresistible. And the reason why I laugh is because my dating personality, if you will, is very kind of like cocky and joking and stuff like that. So it's like I'd make a lot of comments of like, yeah, I'm handsome and like I'm irresistible and stuff like that. And even now, every once in a while, she kind of like brings it up and it just makes me laugh. So yeah, ended up going on the second date. And then we ended up planning that trip to the beach, which was amazing. We spent 3 days in a hotel on the beach, and it's the perfect way to determine if someone is right for you. Because spending 3 days with someone that you barely know, you're like, all right, either I like this person or I don't. There's no like in between. You're not like, well, maybe. So for me, it was like clear from that point. It's like, yeah, okay, she's the one, and yeah, I want to build a relationship with her. So we ended up coming back, and on the way back, she took the bus to go back to her home, and on the bus, someone ended up stealing her phone. So I'm like, wow, that sucks. But at the same time, I'm like, well, that's actually not such a bad thing because her birthday was like a week later. So I'm like, well, now I know what to buy her. Perfect. So I ended up buying her a phone. And there's also another surprise gift that I prepared for her for her birthday, which was asking her if she wanted to be my girlfriend. Now, seeing how we're now married, I kind of don't really have to say it, but she did say yes. So up to that point, it's like everything is perfect. Like we had amazing dates. We went on a trip together. She's my girlfriend. Everything's awesome. Jump like a couple days ahead of that. And it's like, oh, we found a lump on your testicle. Let's get it checked out. So I get it checked out, and the doctor's like, well, we can't know exactly what it is, but there's a chance it could be cancer. So go home as quickly as you can and get it checked out. So literally like a month and a half after we met, and a week, I think it was a week and a half with all the tests and everything, after she became my girlfriend officially, I'm flying home to Canada to get like everything checked out to make sure I don't have cancer. So definitely not the best way to start a relationship. But life is what it is. So, there was a delay of a couple months because my card expired while I was traveling. So anyway, conclusion is cool, it's not cancer, everything is fine. At which point the plan becomes, let's find a remote job so I can go back to Nicaragua, still make enough money to support us. We can build a relationship, begin the immigration process, and eventually we'll move back to Canada together. Unfortunately, it turns out that it's very difficult to get a remote job that allows you to work outside the country. Most companies are like, you can work remotely, that's fine, but you need to physically be inside Canada. So I spent maybe like 6, 7 months looking for a job, not being able to find anything. Eventually got a job offer for a job that was remote, but once again, I had to be in Canada. So I was about to say no. And then the whole cancer thing just drops on me. The real cancer, this one, like the lung cancer, like everything that's been going on for the last 10 months. So I'm like, crap, I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck here. I need to go for my treatments every 3 weeks. I need money. Let's accept this job. So that's kind of like the end of the journey and the beginning of a completely separate journey. So that's kind of a summary of everything that happened before, while I met my girlfriend, how we met, how we developed the relationship, and after. So yeah, kind of intense. And I just want to kind of go back to what I said in the beginning. This is why I say that my wife is my cure, because of everything we've gone through. Like having to go through this whole cancer thing in the beginning of a relationship is the ultimate test. Like if we can survive this, we can survive anything. And my wife has been amazing throughout everything. There's been so many difficult times, but she's been like the most important thing in my life in this entire process. Every time. Every time I try to stop it, because I'm trying to stare at the camera, I just end up missing it completely. Okay, here we go for real.